Hey, welcome back guys. Alright, so this is a follow-up video to the JavaScript player. I'm going to link the original video in the description. And of course you can find all the project files to this in the description as well. So what I'm trying to do here, as per requested by one of the viewers, is to make it in such a way that I can select files from my computer and play them in my browser. So the playlist here can be created by simply browsing for files. So let's see how we can do something similar. So I'm simply going to open my text editor here and create a new file. Okay. So far what's happening is that we have a playlist that's running here, and if I click a song, it's going to play. Any of these songs I click will play, but the problem is this is hard-coded. We don't have a browse button here, so I'm going to add a browse button so that we can browse for files and then the playlist is created automatically. So let's get into that. So the first thing I want to do is go to my htdocs folder inside my player project, and this is inside this player folder where the player files actually exist. The player.js and player.php, those are the two files that are required in order to run this plugin. So let me copy those two files, come back here, let's create a new project. So we're just going to call this one playlist. Let's say playlist, there we go. And then I'm going to paste the plugin that we created in the previous video here. Okay, so now what I want is to create an index file here that will represent my homepage. So I'm just going to hit save here on this file and go to playlist, which we have created here, and I'm going to call this index.php. And by the way, please make sure that your Apache is running. Those are simple mistakes you can make. So let's create some HTML here I'm going to call it playlist like that. Okay. Now, if you remember very well, for us to create a playlist, first of all, for us to have the plugin in here, we just have to include it. So let's do some inclusion here. I'm going to use PHP to include my player because it's easier. So I'm going to say include player, because it's inside a player folder, player.php, like so. Close those tags, save. So let me open that in my browser. So I'll type localhost instead of player, I'll type playlist. Okay, and as you can see, the plugin has been loaded because we included it in our thing here. If I don't include it like that, you see that it will not exist. So it's coming from the include there. All right. So what we want, usually, because I know this contains JavaScript, so I'll put it at the bottom here. But then what I want now, in order to create a playlist, because as you can see now, if I refresh here, there are no songs loaded, so obviously nothing will play. If I try to play, I get nothing. Okay, so in order for us to be able to load some content, we need an input of some kind. So let's add our input there of type file, because definitely we're going to be loading files. And then one thing is, I want it to be triggered every time you add files. It should automatically create a playlist. So I'm going to do that by adding an onChange listener. Okay, when there's a change there, it's going to call I don't know, a function we can make called create playlist, like that. And then in here, instead of passing in the event, I'm simply going to pass in the files that this input contains. So I'm going to say this dot files, like so. So whatever files you add will be sent to this function right here. So let me copy that and come down here and create some script tags like so. And then I'm going to run this function. So I'm going to say function create playlist, put my brackets there, but then this can't be this.files, it just has to be something like files. It can be any variable name you can put there, no big deal. All right, so far so good. Now all I want is to do a console.log to show me what files contains at this point. That's all. So let's go back here to our browser, refresh, and we have so I'm not going to style this extensively in any way because this is not a styling tutorial, so you can do your own styling and stuff, but I'll do the bare minimum. So I'm going to click browse here and then go to find some files. Unfortunately, oh no, unfortunately I removed the drive which has my files, so hopefully I don't get copyright flagged for these songs that I'm going to play here. So let me see which one can play. I'm trying to find the one that can least get me in trouble here. Let's try that one. Okay, so now that I've loaded it, if I go to inspect element and go to the console, I'm going to see a files list here. So if I click, you see that there's this song here that's there, and the name is Savage Garden. That's the title of the song. But inside here, where is this? Yes, there's file there, and these are the contents. So the thing is, this this tool, this input, it creates a what is known as a blob file type. It's like it grabs the whole file that you want to upload, because you want to upload this file. That's why you put it inside the browse there. So what it does is it grabs the actual file. So the name is there, but the actual contents, the bytes, the content of the file is actually in there. This is why it can even tell you the size right there and the type of file there. So what we want to do here is create a URL to this file and then try to play it. So what JavaScript will do is it's going to create a temporal file in a blob format, and then it will give you a link. So in order to do that, there's a function called create. It's called create object URL, I think, if I am not mistaken. I don't usually use it often, but in this case, that's all I can think of as something that can actually work. So let's see how we can actually achieve that. Now, since we can add many files here, for now, if I click here and try to select multiple files, it's not going to happen, and that's not good for a playlist. So what we will do is inside this input, let's add the word multiple here, and that will enable us to select multiple files. So if I refresh my page and click browse, now I am able to select a list of files here, and if I click open, you see it says 7 files selected there, which is good, but I wanted to create a playlist immediately. Now if you remember very well in the previous tutorial where I told you how to create a playlist so that the player can recognize it, and the playlist should look something like this. So let's create the playlist first here. I'm going to say div like so. So the playlist should have, it should just be a div which has a class of player. I think that's how it was, playlist also. If it doesn't work, we're going to check the code itself. Okay, so this will be where the playlist will be. So all I need to do is capture this item and then create the playlist in there. So what do I do here? So let me do a for loop here so that I can loop through the files and do it one by one to each file. So I'll use files there. So files dot length And then what I will do is create a string, var string is equal to empty string, like so. Okay, so now that I have that, but first of all, let me grab this item. So that div, how do we grab it? I'm going to say playlist is equal to document dot query selector, like that. And since it's a class name, I'll put a dot and then put that there, like so. Okay, so playlist is equal to that. So we now have this object, which is this div right there. So I want to manipulate its content. So at the end of the day, I want, at the end of this, I'm going to say playlist.innerHTML should be equal to whatever string is going to contain. So then it means we have to update string at this point. So I'm going to say string plus equals. Okay, so I want to create some smaller divs inside because this is the requirement for our player to recognize these things. So in here, I will put .name because I want to just get the name of the files, nothing more. For now, that's all I want to get. So let me close that div like so, and then close that like so. Okay, so all we are doing is creating a div, adding the file name inside the div, closing it, and repeating this process for every file, and then we add to the inner HTML of playlist. So let's come back here for a second and refresh. Let's try this again. So I'm going to select a couple of files or several files and hit open. And as you can see now, we've listed them here quite nicely for a playlist. So like I said, I won't be doing any styling, but we can do the bare minimum, like style, font family, maybe Tahoma, something like that. Then let me just put a break tag here between these two, just to give some space there. Okay. So if I browse here, select a few files, open, this is what I get. So this is becoming a playlist now. Now, you may not want this to look like this because you don't want it to tell you 4 files selected. I can already see that there are 4 files here. So not really a requirement here. So what I can do instead is to hide this input. So what I will do is create a style and say display hidden. So we hide, that way we can't actually see it. Refresh. Oops, it's not hidden. Sorry, it should be display none. I was getting confused there for a second. Okay, so now it's gone. But then what we can do is create a label. So this label will instead be what we click. So let me do that. So if you put something inside a label, whatever part of the label you click, it's as good as clicking that same thing. So here I'm just going to say select files, like that. And then I can create some styles here just for the label. So I'm going to say label. So you can add a class here. Maybe let's do that. Let's add a class so that it's more neat. We're going to call the class button. So let's do .btn there. Okay. So what I want now is to design a button. So padding, I don't know, 1em or maybe 0.5em, I don't know. Let's see, color, white, background color, blue, and then what else? Border, none. We don't need a border for that. Let's add some rounded corners. Border radius 5 pixels. Okay, that does it. Let's add a bit of a margin 10 pixels. Okay, something like that. So let's see what we've done. Okay, so select files. It doesn't look very much like a button. I want it to look like a button. So let me change the display. Yeah, display inline block. That way it acts like a div. Okay, there we go. There we go. The height is a bit much. So maybe 1M is a bit much. So let's do 0.5M. Wait a minute. Maybe it's the padding that... Oh, so that is the padding. Margin. What's going on? Okay, let me not worry too much about the CSS here, like I said, to waste time there. So all I want to do now is, this should act like a button. So if I click this button, I still get the browse. But the advantage of doing it this way is if I open now, I don't get that how many files selected and so on. So I can style this as I want. I can put an icon in there, which will look more presentable, right? Excuse me. So I can change inspect element and change my color there just to suit my needs. Okay, so you can color it as you please, this same button. All right, so that's that for the button there. Let me just put that new color. Okay, so everything seems to be working, except that we have to put a path parameter here for the player to be able to recognize the song. So path is going to be the path to the actual song. Now, the thing is, the song here doesn't have, this song doesn't have a path, right? And also, we have to make sure that each file is actually of type, the type that we want, yeah? So let's go back to console.log for a second here. Let's log the files. Now this time I want to just log file 0, the very first one, because what I want to do is show you the type, file type here. So let's go down here, file, and then this has type, so it should say audio MPEG, right? So we copy that and let's come back here and say if files, this is what files I, the current file dot type, okay, is not equal to audio MPEG, like that. Let me remove that. If it's not equal to audio MPEG, then continue, like ignore this this part of the loop, just continue looping. So let's remove that. So let me put those brackets so that it's clear what we are doing here. And so if the type is correct, that's the only time we'll get here. If it's not, from here it will skip this part and continue with the loop. And then here now I want to, because it's good to avoid files that are not the format that you want. So in here, what I want to do is create a path. Now this file doesn't have a path, but there's a way we can create our own path. So let's say var path is equal to let's say document, I think it's in the document, create object. Wait a minute, it's not document actually, it's URL. So there's an object called URL, and let's say URL dot create object URL. Yeah, I think this is how it supposedly supposed to be. And then let's put that particular file. So it's going to create an object and a link to that object. So that's what will be returned in the path here. So let's put that path right about here, concatenate it like so. Alrighty then, so let's see what will happen this time. So let me just add one file here, and then I'm just going to go in and inspect this element so that I see what happened. So if I click here, you will notice that there's a path parameter here with a blob. Okay, So blob is just the file type for all these images, videos, and audio. They are all called blob types because they are objects, they are media files. And so it has created a blob and given me the link to that blob file here. So this is exactly what we wanted. Okay, so let's make use of that. Now, if you remember very well, the plugin, how the plugin works is that it identifies the playlist and then captures everything in that playlist. Okay, and then once you click, it will add an event listener to this, and then once you click, it's going to try and play that file. So far, because we've created the playlist and we've added paths to those, it should actually work. So let's try it out. I'll leave this console open just in case we do get some errors. So if I click on this one now, it's not actually working. So refresh. Let's try again. Let me click. Okay, so nothing there. If I click, nothing. Okay. All right, so what's probably happening here is that we let's do this for a second. So if you remember very well, there's two ways to play music from our player here. One is to create a playlist. So the problem that happens here is that when we load the page, the player is going to look for the playlist and it will find no files there, and that will be it. And then by the time we add the files there, it's too late. The player has already been initialized without anything in the playlist. So don't worry about that. We're going to fix it in a moment. But I want to show you another way of doing the playing of the file. So let's say if it's just one file you want to play. So we won't mind about this, what's happening down here. Let's just do something here. So here I'll just get the very first file in the list, and then all I'm going to do is create an object URL like what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'll copy that for a second, put it here, and create on file 0, which is the first file. So now that I have an actual path, all I need to do is say player, like so, dot song, because this is what we told it to do, and then add that path there, and then say player dot play, like that. So it should be able to work in that manner. So let me browse here and then click on one of the songs. Let's say I want to find a song that's very indistinct. Okay, so it's playing very well, no problems there. Okay, so we've just successfully managed to play a song from the computer. So I can select any other song here and it will play. Okay, very nice. Now let's go back to the issue of a playlist, because that's the main subject here. Okay, so let me remove this for now. And so what I want to do is, at the end of all this, I want to initialize the player. Okay, so after I add the playlist, then here I'm going to say player dot init, like that, initialize. And then once I initialize, I say player dot play, like so. Okay, now the issue is that player.init is not accessible outside the player thing. So let's go to the actual player.js and modify it a little bit to allow it to be initializable from the outside. So let's go down here, and you see we do initialize it in the beginning, but because there are no songs at that point, it doesn't make sense. So let's change this init to this dot init, and that's because we are going to change this function to this dot init is equal to function, like so. Okay, and once we've done that, now we can initialize this from the outside. So let me see where else I used init. That's that there and there. Where else? I think that's probably it. So in all those places I have to change to this dot init now. Okay, great. I think we are doing well. Now let's edit init function itself. So the init checks for a playlist if a playlist exists, and then it does all this setup here. Now the only issue is that we've already grabbed the wait a minute, the playlist from there. So I want to remove, wait, total songs is equal to, where are we using this? Okay, so what I would do is I will move all this that talks about the playlist. I'll cut that out, and then I will paste it inside the init right at the top there, like so. Okay, so that it's part of the initialization process. All right, so let's see if we don't get any errors yet. This dot init is not a function, so where is that? It's inside player.js on line 30. Let's see that. Okay, this dot init. Okay, so maybe let's try and move it below this dot init there. Okay, maybe it has to wait for the initialization process. So let's try and put it below the function itself. So refresh. So it seems we still get the error. Oh no, it's a different error. Playlist is not defined. So where is that? Yeah, here. Click init. Okay, so even this here, the event listener, should also happen inside the init. So let's put it right here. So as you can see, there's a lot of if playlist. So let's move everything into just one of these, like so. And let me move that as well. Everything out of here and into there, like so. And remove all that. Okay, save. All right, so let's try and see if there are no more errors, and I think we are good to go. So let's try this process now and see if we can get something done here. So let me click here, let's see. Okay, so things are not working out. Nothing is playing. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Let's come back here for a second. So what I want to know is if this is happening here. So let me copy this and then do a console.log. Since we are not getting any errors here, the only way to know what's going on is to check what is contained in some of these things. So refresh, and it's containing a no. So, okay, that's fine. Let me click again here, and again, it's considered to be a no. So this is not getting anything. So document.player playlist. So it can't seem to find this. So, and that's because, as usual, I have misspelled it. A very a terrible thing to do. Playlist. I don't know why I always missed that Y. Okay, let me make sure that even here there is a Y there. Okay, I think we should be good to go now. So let me refresh the page. Oh, what error is that? Playlist to children is undefined. Current song. Okay, where is that? Inside the init function. Where are you, Mr. Init? So it's saying playlist to children dot what's the thing? Current song. Where is that? Current song. Okay. So you see, we need to have at least some children here in order to be able to, yeah, so it means it passed through here for some reason. So let me redo the console.log. I want to see what it will tell me that it contains. So now it has found the div. Okay. So the thing we have to check for here is not just playlist, it's playlist.children. Okay. 0, like that. To make sure that there's at least one child. So let me come back here and refresh. Okay, so that's good. Now we don't get any errors. So let me browse here and let's try this one now. Okay. Very nice. So now let's click and add several files to see if they're going to work as well. So let's see. Let me select all these here and click open. Okay, seems like it's okay, very nice. So let me click a very particular song to see if it will play. Okay, good. Let's try the next and previous buttons. Okay, so these are not working here. It's saying playlist is not defined. Well, this is my bad. If you go back to player.js, playlist should be defined on the outside. So let's copy this and remove the var from here. And let's define playlist somewhere here at the top. So I'm just going to copy one of these. I didn't need to copy that actually. So we put it on the outside just so it's accessible by any other function that needs it. So refresh, let's try again, load a couple of files, open that. Okay, and let's try next. Okay, reference total songs is not defined. So same thing here again, total songs should be copied and added to the top here. So var total songs like so. And then when we come back here, we don't redeclare it. We just say total songs like that. Very good. Let's try again. Click, browse. Okay, very nice. Now let's click next. Very good. It seems to be working. Okay, very good. Things are looking good. The only thing is the file here is gibberish because the file name is just a blob now with a random file name there. So to fix this problem, we can simply change from, where is this? There's a function here that shows the file name, song title right there. Song title is equal to inner HTML is equal to the path dot split. Okay, so instead of getting the path itself, we're just going to get what's inside the playlist dot current song dot inner HTML. So I'm just going to copy this playlist, copy, and I'm going to replace the path here just on this last part with playlist dot children dot current song dot inner HTML dot split. Wow, this is quite long, eh? Playlist dot children dot inner HTML dot split dot pop. Wow. Anyway, let's see if it actually works. It seems logical, but let's see it in action. Okay, looks like it's working, showing the actual title. All right, so I see, I think we are done here. So that's all the editing you need to do in the player.js. So keep in mind that inside the your website, the index page, these are the things you just need to add. Just a file selector, and then a function to run once you select a few files. And then this part here is simply creating a playlist here, okay, adding data to this playlist. And then finally, we get the player to initialize, and then we play something. Okay, so hopefully you've learned something new here, and I will see you in another tutorial.